Oh, I'm sorry. It's not going to be on your final lab exam, but you will need it. Salivary glands, 3 pairs, meaning 6 altogether. Parotid gland, you already know. This is that yellow structure here. You have those structure on both sides. There are 2 of them. Sublingual. Sublingual, under the tongue. Sub means under. This is the sublingual. Next to it is the submandibular. Submandibular. It is under the mandibles. Sub is under. So we have 6. 3 pairs, 6 of them. What is their function? What do they do?
Break down food. Break down carbohydrates.
You don't focus.
See?
So, what is the function of salivary glands?
To break down carbohydrates.
Produce saliva?
Yeah, this is one function because salivary glands produce what enzyme?
Saliva.
Amylase.
Amylase, yeah. Yours looks big.
But that is one function, very important, but there is another function.
Because the bigger screen.
What do we need? How do you feel without saliva in your mouth?
Dry.
All dry. Would it be easier to chew and swallow?
I'm gonna put on.
Definitely not. So the other very important function of saliva is lubrication
Of the mouth.
and mixing that stuff you chew on with that saliva will help you swallowing. Okay, so this is why we need them, and we have 6 of them, so we can produce a lot of saliva. We need a lot of saliva. Next is esophagus, right? This is why we need that tiny thing here. Have you seen it for your respiratory system? Chapter 23? Why do we need it? Because, look, this is oral cavity. This is tongue. That thing, that big thing is the tongue. And this is the palate. And it is about hard palate and soft palate. That palate separates the oral cavity from the nasal cavity. So here you go, we have a little bit of review for your final lecture exam. On the end of the soft palate, you have uvula. Remember uvula? And what is the function of the uvula? To close the entry into the nasal cavity, nasopharynx. This is the pharynx. This is the pharynx. And you have nasopharynx because it is close to nasal cavity. You have oropharynx because it is close to oral cavity. And you have laryngopharynx because it is close to the larynx. Nasopharynx does not belong to the digestive system. And if you swallow, look, here you have one tooth and you have tongue, and they are accessory organs of digestive system. Tongue, teeth, salivary glands. Remember? Accessory structure. So what happens in here? You use the tooth, and if you have more than you use all of them, definitely. And then you chew, and what you do with your tongue? You mix that food with saliva. And what do you do? What did you make out of the, how do we call it?
Bolus.
And then you swallow that bolus. And that bolus goes here and in here, into your oropharynx. You don't want to have that food into your nasopharynx and nasal cavity, do you?
No.
No. So what has to happen?
Yes.
What is the function of uvula?
It closes.
To close the entry into the nasal cavity. So here is your uvula, if you move and close the entry. So your bolus cannot go up, so it has to go down. And then there is 2 ways to go. One is to go into the esophagus, and the other is to go into the larynx and trachea. So, do we want to have it into the larynx and trachea?
No.
No. So, there has to be something which will push that bolus into the esophagus. not very push, will prevent the entry into the larynx. And this is your epiglottis, and this is the epiglottis. Okay, so this is the swallowing process in a very general way, and this is the first part of esophagus, because on that model we have just the thoracic part of esophagus. So esophagus starts with the laryngopharynx. Laryngopharynx provides an entry into the esophagus and the larynx and then trachea. So here is your esophagus. If you have to describe the location, then you know that starts. There was a question about esophagus, and there was a wrong description of the location of esophagus. And some of you
behind the trachea
marked that wrong answer. So, label on here is esophagus. So it starts up there, and then it moves into the thoracic cavity. And it has to attach, to connect to what? What did we lose? What is this?
part of the large
Yes. What part?
Transverse.
Not this. Not this. Okay. That esophagus has to go out of the thoracic cavity into abdominal cavity. We need an opening. How do we call that opening? Esophageal hiatus. Esophageal hiatus. That opening is in the diaphragm. This is the diaphragm, separating the thoracic cavity from the abdominal pelvic cavity. So, next is your stomach, right? What is the function of the stomach? To mix that incoming bolus with gastric juices. Protein digestion starts here. Hormone which is used for protein digestion in stomach is pepsin. So this is a very powerful organ with those very powerful muscles. It will contract and churn and mix this in that mixing bowl. That incoming boluses of food with mixing with the gastric juice, and then pepsin digestion. Pepsin will start protein digestion. And what then we will have inside? How do we call? Chyme. Chyme goes into duodenum, which is the first part of the small intestines. And this is here. This is your duodenum. Because if you put the stomach back, then see it attaches here. This is a little bit of that esophagus connecting to stomach. And on the other side, stomach connects to duodenum, because this is GI tract. This is that open tube, starting with your mouth and ending with your anus. And this is for digestion and elimination, whatever was not digested. So, label here would be what? Or maybe label here and arrows pointing to this area. What part of stomach would be? Cardia. Cardia is cardia because, look, if you put that here and you would put heart in here, then this is the closest part to the heart, to the cardiac muscle. So they named that part cardia. So this is the cardia. This would be your fundus. This would be your fundus. That would be your body. That would be your pylorus. And what do we have inside? Rugae. What are they good for?
Stretching the stomach.
Stretching, expanding the stomach to accommodate everything we eat, and we do put a lot in our stomach. So label here, duodenum. On top of this tract, I will put the label. That would be easier. And then, what happens in small intestine? Because we are in the small intestine.
Nutrients, yep.
The ending of nutrient digestion, like carbohydrates and proteins, because the digestion of lipids just starts in the small intestine and ends there too. So, nutrients will be all digested, all the way, to the smallest components. And then they will be all absorbed, those nutrients, amino acids, monosaccharides, lipids. They all go into your blood circulation. And the second part of the small intestine is what? Second part of
The genome.
It's not large intestine. No, you thought about something else. So, how do we call the second part?
Genome, yeah.
Duodenum is the first one.
No,
The second one, the middle one.
I start with a J.
Jejunum. Did somebody say jejunum?
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, that's what we was trying to say.
Oh, sorry.
We pronounced it a little off.
No, I was thinking about something. So, duodenum, jejunum, and here in the middle, and ileum is the last one. So for ileum, we will look inside. And because ileum is the last one, it has to attach to large intestine. So this is your large intestine here. And it starts with cecum. So label here is ileum. And because that valve, which regulates the movement of the digested stuff out of the ileum into the large intestine, is between ileum and cecum. We call it ileocecum. Ileocecum valve. And so cecum, and here is your appendix. So label on that tiny thing is appendix. And then you have your colon. Cecum, ascending,
Transverse,
transverse, descending, sigmoid,
sigmoid,
down here, rectum. Okay. And liver, right?